city, the county, but especially right here. So Mayor, thank you, Mayor Hill. Thanks. This is a Lordstown, Lorraine fight. Congressman Kaptur, who's been making this fight longer than damn near anybody. Marcy is, I believe, now the longest serving woman in the history of the United States. Marcy, I'm going to talk about this for a second after listening to Jimmy Hart, what he said. I want to talk about what Marcy did and what we did together to fight some of the globalization that's done such damage to this community. I'll get to that in a second. Congressman Ryan, good to see you. I look forward. I never and Tim Berga, Mike Nisley. Mike Nisley, I mentioned to him, Mike is head of the building trades for Ohio. Grew up from Lyon, Ohio, pretty similar to where I grew up in Mansfield. Mike, now that they're going to have 5,000 building trades jobs, building the Intel operation, Mike started wearing a tie when he got Tim Ryan, on the other hand, I don't know what the hell. But we know how important, and Anthony's running for the state senate team, worked in my office, a veteran, just been a terrific congressman. I just want to call it. Lorraine is industrial America. I mean, you know what this community is. They started building ships here 200 years ago in this community. You know what this has been. And I think back, and this is what I want to talk about Marcy and Timbers. I think back, when I grew up in Mansfield, Ohio. We were in those old days in the same sports conferences, Lorraine and Lorraine King and Elyria and Findlay and Marion and the Buckeye Conference. But I used to walk the halls with hundreds of my graduating class, 450 kids in Mansfield. I walked the halls with the sons of Mayor Cranley and Teresa Federer. I used to walk the halls with the sons and daughters of auto workers who worked at Fisher Body, of machinists who worked at Ohio Brass, of rubber workers who worked at Mansfield Tire, of steel workers who worked at Empire Detroit. I'm leaving several out, and then hundreds of building trades, hundreds of millwrights and carpenters and electricians and pipe fitters and sheet metal workers that built that community, built all of these communities. And we know what happened. We know what corporate America did. Corporate America first, they shut down production in Lorraine and Elyria and Sandusky and Mansfield and Warren, and they looked for cheap labor in Alabama. And when that, in Arkansas and Tennessee, when that labor wasn't cheap enough, as they went on their scavenger hunt around the world to look for low wages, the next thing they did is push Congress to pass NAFTA. My first year in Congress, Marcy had been there for 10 years. We led the opposition to that because we knew what NAFTA would do to this community and every community in the Midwest. And we almost defeated NAFTA. We fell short. And then they came back because Mexican labor in Mexico wasn't cheap enough for corporate America. They continued their scavenger hunt. They continued their move around the world to China, and we know what's happened. And that's in Ohio's paid that price for years in the form of lost jobs, lost opportunity. The whole country's paying the price now. We see it in higher prices. We see it what happened in the supply chain. We see how we've lost high-tech industries to China, to competitors like China. Let me give you one example. Light bulbs, invented by a guy that grew up about 30 miles from here, right? Mile, Ohio. The LED, the most advanced, more modern, next generation of light bulbs, used to be made in places like Ravenna and Bucyrus. Right now, 99% of light bulbs are made in China. 90% of semiconductors are made in East Asia, even though we invented them. So we know what this project can be. We know how important this is from Lordstown to Lorraine. This is the first step. Well, the first step is Congress will pass the U.S. Innovation and Competition Act to make sure that we can rebuild America. We need to do it. It means putting workers at the center of our trade policy. It means putting workers at the center of our economic policy and the center of our infrastructure. President after president after president promised that we would pass infrastructure. Marcy's heard those promises. Tim's heard those promises. It took this president, in this Senate, in this House to finally do infrastructure. No longer will we build bridges made of Chinese steel. No longer will we invest in infrastructure made by workers somewhere else. If you're going to spend U.S. tax dollars on water and sewer systems, on bridges, on highways, on replacing water pipes which are contaminated with lead, if you're going to build those projects, and they're funded by U.S. taxpayers, they're going to be built by U.S. workers, period. That's the promise. That's what this is all about. Because when you love this country, you fight for the people who make it work. That's what everybody standing behind me understands. That's why we make this fight. That's why we're all in this together.
Thank you, Senator Brown. Next person I want to introduce is Representative Tim Ryan. He currently represents Ohio's 13th district in Washington, D.C. He has always advocated for Ohio's working families, and he's going to be our next United States Senator in Ohio. Can you imagine Sherrod Brown and Tim Ryan representing our state in Washington, D.C.? We're unstoppable. We need Tim Ryan to fight to raise wages, to make health care more affordable, and to revitalize manufacturing in Ohio. I introduce to you Representative and future Senator Tim Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. And Mayor Hill, we're representing Trumbull County, Mahoning Valley here. Mayor Arnold Hill from Lordstown, Mayor Cranley, Teresa Fetter, great to see you guys. Look, America's a very special place, right? We are a country that holds citizens from all over the world, right? Every language in the world is spoken here. And we appreciate that because America is the one country that is built on an idea. It's built on an idea. The idea is freedom, right? That's what America was founded on. And this country, over our history, has fed more people, clothed more people, cured more people, liberated more people, protected more people than every other country in the world combined. And we are here today to make sure that we preserve that freedom. That's what Marcy Kaptur has fought for her entire career. And I sit on the Appropriations Committee with her, and I love when she gets up and fights. Because she's smart, but she remembers Lorraine and Toledo and Youngstown. So you're getting the best of that. And there's nobody better than Senator Sherrod Brown when it comes to working class people. And his ability to fight and understand what working class people are going through. So when we talk about this particular project, right, can you think of two better communities than Lorraine and the Mahoning Valley? Two better places that have always showed up when this country needed them. Every war, the production of materials, every time this country was challenged, it was Ohio who stepped up. Every time. Right? You go back to the Civil War. Who showed up? Generals from Ohio who became presidents. Right? When Roosevelt said we got to build the arsenal of democracy, who showed up? It was the Ohioans who showed up and built the arsenal of democracy and saved freedom around the world. That was us, right? You guys up here, steel here, steel in Youngstown, glass in Toledo, rubber in Akron, aerospace in Southwest Ohio, energy and agriculture in the southern part of the state. We always showed up. When President Kennedy said, we got to go to the moon, who were the astronauts? Where were they from? Ohio. They were from Ohio. Where was the manufacturing base that put us on the moon? Ohio. We showed up. And so now, right, now we are moving, I believe, from the age of pessimism and negativity, and we see it every day on our TVs, don't we? This project and projects like this, I got my Lordstown Motors gear on, building electric vehicles down in the Mahoning Valley, electric cars, electric trucks, like batteries to go into them. We're moving into the age of possibility. You are, we are, together, all of us, right here. Because you know why? Unless it's hitting the ground, good paying jobs, innovation, economic freedom, where you can move up the economic ladder and go on vacation, you got a few bucks in your pocket, right? That's called economic freedom. You can go where you want, you can do what you want. Want to go to college? Go to college. Want to go to trade school? Go to trade school. Want to buy a house? You can buy a house. You need a new car? You can get a new car. Furnace breaks? You can fix it. Get a new one. Because you have economic freedom. That's what this project is about. It's about us building things again. Making things again. All these companies, they're worth $5 billion valuation. They don't even make any money. You ever see these companies? They're worth $5 billion. What was your profit last year? Nothing. What? How's that happen? We got to get back to building stuff, making stuff, supply chains, right? You build this, you make it better, you ship it on trucks. Union truck drivers drive it to the next place, you add value to it, make that better, ship it to the next person. Everybody gets a little piece of the action. And you get good paying middle class jobs with security, which you deserve and your families deserve. I'll tell you one story real quick and then I'm out. Sherrod will make fun of me if I talk too long. I talk too long and he says, you're going to make a great senator. My grandfather was a steel worker in Niles, Ohio. That's where we grew up. And 40 years, National Gypsum was the name of the company, right? He's my guy. Lived 2 blocks down from us. Totally my guy. There was our house, Our Lady of Mount Carmel Grade School, my grandparents' house. 40 years he worked, right? You know what? He didn't have to work 7 days a week. He didn't have to work 60, 70 hours a day, or a week, right? 12, 15 hours a day. He didn't have to. He had a good job. And you know what he did because he didn't have to work that whole time? He was Italian, so he had his garden. But you know what he was able to do? He was able to volunteer at the church. He was the usher at 1045 Mass. He ran the beer tent at the summer festival. Okay? Hypothetically snuck his grandson's beers every now and again. Allegedly. There's no proof. Right? And he was able to be at all of my brother and I's sporting events. Baseball, football, basketball. My grandfather was there because he had a good job where he didn't have to work all the time. Right? That's what this is about. My favorite picture of my grandfather in the Our Lady of Mount Carmel Annals, open it up, it says John Rizzi, volunteer. He was standing in front of a half-built brick wall. That was the grade school me and my brother went to. He had time to literally build my future. He had time. That's what this is about. This is about you having a good job, good investments, good schools, and you have time for the things that really matter. Time to pursue happiness time with your family, not missing games, not missing birthday parties, because you got a good union and a good job. And to me, ladies and gentlemen, that's freedom for you. And that's what this project is all about. I'm going to fight tooth and nail, like Marcy is, like Sherrod is, until we get this project done. Thank you very much.
We've got a lot of champions representing us in the United States Congress. But we also have a rock. And that rock is Marcy Kaptur. As Senator Sherrod Brown said, she is the longest serving female in our United States Congress. Before I came up here, she said to me, Mayor, I will never, ever forget Lorain, Ohio. She's always been a strong advocate for Lorain. And she loves our city, and she loves the people of our city. We're so lucky to have her voice fighting for us in Congress. I introduce to you, and I'm proud to introduce to you, our representative, Marcy Kaptur.
Good morning, Lorain. And all guests of Lorain, thank you for coming here today. Mayor Bradley, thank you so very much for your leadership. That leadership brought the president, first time in history, the President of the United States of America to Lorain, Ohio. What a great moment. And you rolled out the red carpet for him. And I was reminded as our next Senator, Tim Ryan, was speaking, and Sherrod Brown, our current Senator, beautiful Senator, was speaking, that when the President came here, he was driven all around the main streets and in front of the mills that have been closed, right? And I kept thinking, when the man that ran against him was campaigning in 2020, that guy came to the heart of Toledo and said in his remarks, the mills in Lorain are open again. And I thought, unbelievable. Not a single person in the press of this country caught that lie. All right? So we have our work cut out for us. Where's Jimmy? Where's Jimmy? There, Jimmy, you, I can tell, have spent your life fighting on the maritime industry and the metals trades. Thank you. Thank you for remembering our sailors on the George Washington. I'm not sure what town you're from. Are you from Massachusetts or New York? Deep South. We respect your work. We respect your work. Congressman Ryan, myself, we come from working class families. We're sort of unusual in the Congress. Any one of you could have our jobs. And it's not easy to represent working people in the Congress of the United States, but when President Joe Biden was elected and sworn in, I got tears in my eyes when the head of our Transportation Committee, Peter DeFazio, went to the White House, and the President, along with leaders of labor across our country, said, welcome to the House of Labor. No president in the United States has ever said that. This is a moment. This is a moment, and they are precious. I've walked alongside several presidents during my lifetime. For the AFL-CIO Metal Trades, thank you for this initiative. Thank you for being here today. We need your help. For Bartlett Maritime, thank you. Thank you for your leadership. Here's where America is right now, and Congressman Ryan and I serve on the Defense Committee. On any given day, maybe we got 40 to 50 nuclear subs and submarines out there on the waters. The problem is, we've only got 4 shipyards. We used to have 11. So our shipyards have been cut by 60% in this country. If we don't have shipyards, we don't have a ready defense. And as someone who spends a lot of time on military matters, I can tell you that we need help, because most of our ships, when they go into dry dock, are sitting there for almost a year, 3/4 of a year before we can move them out. We do not have enough workers to do the job. We do not. And across our country, what we're facing is competition from China. They have about 80 subs right now. We've got at least 25 less than that on the waters. And Russia has a plan by 2027 to go up to 60. So we know that we have to retool. We have to rebuild America from the inside out. And what better place than here, which is the home of Admiral Ernest King. Now, he was kind of a controversial guy, you know, but he was number 4 in his class at Annapolis when he was in school, and he helped lead America to victory as leader of the U.S. Navy during World War II. I think Lorain, Ohio deserves a shipyard. Lorain, Ohio. And here are some of our assets. Number 1, we're located, we got a port right here at Lorain on the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway, the shortest distance that Eisenhower knew between the United States and Northern Europe. You have connectivity to turnpike and to rail, all right? You have the finest workers in the You don't build that in a day. That takes a lot of time. Lorain County Community College, I think the finest community college. We have a chance here to help America rebuild her strength. And you know, Admiral King said something in response to a question he was asked, and he didn't want to give the answer. He said, you know, when some of these folks want to know what you're going to do, don't tell them anything. Tell them when we win. And so I say to Lorain, Ohio, let's tell them when we win this contract and we win that shipbuilding fully in the United States of America, starting here in Lorain. God bless you all. Thank you for being here.